The premiere of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is fast approaching. Here's what you need to know so that you can hit the ground running without having to rewatch Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon. Warning, light spoilers ahead.
Within every man there are many men. So be brave.
Yes, in case you were woefully unaware, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, which releases on January 18th, is yet another story that takes place in the Westeros universe. Based on a series of novellas written by George R.R. Martin between 1998 and 2010, it follows the adventures of Sir Duncan the Tall, who often just goes by Dunk, and the young Prince Aegon V Targaryen, who acts as his squire and goes simply by Egg. The series has been in the works for quite some time. It was first announced way back in January of 2021, a year before House of the Dragon made its official debut. Ira Parker, who worked as a screenwriter on the first season of House of the Dragon, is acting as the showrunner. Ryan Condal, co-creator and showrunner of House of the Dragon, is attached as an executive producer, among a few others. It honestly can't come at a better time. While House of the Dragon had a strong start, the second season wasn't received quite as well critically. So you can think of this new spin-off as a sort of palate cleanser that will hopefully bring some excitement back to the overarching IP, and perhaps even net some new fans.
How good a knight are you?
You'll see.
Okay, but who exactly are Dunk and Egg? Sir Duncan the Tall is a hedge knight, which is a play on the knight-errant trope that dates back to medieval chivalric romance literature. Basically, a knight-errant travels the land in search of adventures that will help improve his worth in both battle and love. Dunk proves himself and then some, eventually going on to become the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. Egg, as we mentioned before, is actually Prince Aegon V Targaryen, son of Prince Micah and his wife, Diana Dane. He comes to be Dunk's squire soon after Dunk himself leaves his squirehood behind, which is explored in the first novella, The Hedge Knight.
Every knight needs a squire, and you look like you need one more than most.
What happens is that Dunk and Egg get tied up in a squabble that involves Egg's older brother, Prince Aerion. Dunk is eventually forced to enter into a trial by combat that involves two parties of 7 knights fighting each other on horseback. Dunk, of course, ends up winning. Afterward, Prince Micah and Dunk agree that young Aegon will benefit from experiencing life outside of the palace, and he thus officially becomes Dunk's squire. You're probably wondering, how exactly do Dunk and Egg's adventures fit into the overarching Game of Thrones timeline? As opposed to House of the Dragon, which stretches back about 2 centuries, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms takes place only 90 years before the events of the main series. While the events of the show will undoubtedly focus on the stuff Dunk and Egg get involved in during their younger years, the two of them eventually end up moving on to bigger and better things. Prince Aegon eventually goes on to become Lord of the Seven Kingdoms in 233 AC. This comes about in a rather unexpected way. Not only does the Great Council pass on a number of candidates who are closer in the line of succession, his older brother, Maester Aemon, refuses to take his seat in the Iron Throne, and instead ends up devoting his life to the Night's Watch. Remember that big reveal back in the day?
My father was Micah, the first of his name.
Because of the unusual nature of his crowning, Aegon is nicknamed Aegon the Unlikely. Dunk goes on to serve in the Kingsguard after Aegon takes the throne, and as we mentioned before, he eventually rises in the ranks to become Lord Commander of the entire outfit. In case you forgot, the Kingsguard, also known as White Swords or White Cloaks, are the royal bodyguards of the Iron Throne. The most notable of them in the main series is, of course, Sir Jaime Lannister, also known as the Kingslayer thanks to his assassination of the Mad King, Aerys II Targaryen. We're not sure at this point if they're going to actually portray any of this era in the series, so we won't totally spoil it for you. All we'll say is that Aegon and Dunk stick together until the very fiery end. Wink wink. Speaking of how they're going to go about adapting these novellas, we recently found out how they're planning on splitting things up. In an interview with Collider that took place back in October 2025, showrunner Ira Parker explained, "When I heard that it was going to be 6 episodes and they wanted to do shorter half-hour episodes, I was like, great, that means we can do 1 novella a season. That means we can start the way that we're supposed to start and just follow Dunk in his journey into this world. We can be ground up, we can be slow, we can be intimate, and just give people a little enjoyment, a little treat inside this world." Being that there are 3 novellas, we can assume that there will be 3 seasons of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms in total. The novellas are The Hedge Knight, The Sworn Sword, and the Mystery Knight. As we previously discussed, the Hedge Knight delves into how Egg became Dunk's squire. So the finale of Season 1 will likely be the tourney that involves two teams of 7 knights duking it out. But judging by what we've seen in trailers so far, it will probably be quite the spectacle. Without getting into too many spoilers, we'll just say that the Sworn Sword involves a rad trial by combat and unrequited love, while the Mystery Knight delves into the reign of Ares I and further explores the aftermath of the infamous Blackfire Rebellion. Of course, these later seasons depend on the success of Season 1. It wouldn't be the first time a promising show gets cancelled right off the bat due to lackluster performance. But considering the overwhelming popularity of the Game of Thrones IP and how successful everything else has been up to this point, we doubt that's going to happen. Taking on the role of Sir Duncan is Irish actor Peter Claffey. A relative newcomer to the scene, Claffey was a rugby player before taking up acting. Some of his previous credits include the Cillian Murphy-led Small Things Like These, Vikings Valhalla, and Bad Sisters. Dexter Sol Ansel plays young Egg. If you want to see something real heartwarming, check out the video on his YouTube channel that shows the moment he's offered the role.
I got the role!
No way! You're gonna be Egg!
Like Claffey, he doesn't have a ton of credits to his name yet, but the few he does have are pretty notable. Some might recognize him as a young Coriolanus Snow in The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. You also might have seen him in The Midwich Cuckoos, Robert Zemeckis' Here, and the comedy Robin in the Hoods. British actor Finn Bennett plays Arian, Egg's older brother. He's another actor that only has a handful of credits to his name. You probably know him best from his role as Officer Peter Pryor in True Detective Night Country. Some of his notable film credits include Hope Gap and Alex Garland's hyper-realistic 2025 war film Warfare. Bertie Carvel plays Prince Baelor Targaryen, Egg's uncle. He has an extensive list of theater and television credits that would take almost all day to discuss. You probably know him best for his more recent role as Tony Blair in The Crown. Daniel Ings plays Sir Lionel Baratheon, a knight known as the Laughing Storm. He too appeared in The Crown, taking on the role of Commander Mike Parker. Rounding out the main cast is Sam Spruill, who plays Prince Micah, Egg's father, and Tanzin Crawford, who plays a Dornish puppeteer named Tansel. As far as super popular series go, the Game of Thrones IP has a troubled history.
As honor deserted the noble houses of Westeros!
Even people who somehow haven't seen the main series are well aware of what went down in the last stretch of its final season, which shouldn't have been its final season. We're not going to complain about it in detail for the millionth time, but it's important to note since we're about to embark on yet another journey in Westeros. A seemingly popular concern about the show not appealing to as many people is that dragons won't be playing a part in the main storyline. But not everyone is worried about this. As one Redditor said back when the show was first announced, "I feel like people are overestimating how important dragons are to making the show popular. Knights are a core part of pop culture. You can find a bunch of popular medieval shows that don't have dragons or magic in it. People watched a Game of Thrones because they liked the characters and wanted to see what was happening next, not because it had dragons." Another Redditor agreed, replying, "I feel like people forget that HBO isn't just a fantasy network. People watch their content long before Game of Thrones and will continue to do so long after it. Knight of the Seven Kingdoms will obviously benefit from connection to the IP, but it's not like The Sopranos had dragons and it was arguably more popular than Game of Thrones, especially for when it came out." We tend to agree. At this point, everyone is well aware that character development and tantalizing political intrigue are the true selling points of the Game of Thrones IP. Another more superficial concern is the speed in which they filmed the 3 seasons. The top comment on the YouTube trailer reads, "Please film season 2 and 3 back to back so Egg doesn't pull a Stranger Things age gap." After finally finishing Stranger Things recently, 10 years after it began, we definitely feel that comment.